Yes guys, fourth episode in the series going from 80k in payouts this year to 150k. Now we are currently at 88,800, so hopefully next week we should be able to cross that 90k mark. Apologies, this video is a little bit late. I usually post every episode in this series on the weekend, but I have been away in Switzerland, so I wasn't able to upload it. Now let's get straight into it and have a look what trades I took this week. So firstly, let's have a look at the payout I took this week. So we took a $2,000 payout with Lucid. On my Lucid accounts have some really good balances. One has a 10k buffer, two of them have a 7k buffer, and one has a 5k buffer. So I'm literally just risking $150 per trade just to meet the winning days and rinse the balances down a bit. I want to get some of the balances down to maybe 4 to 6k and then I will start to build them back up. On Monday, Tuesday and Wednesday there were literally no trades to take. None of the VIP students took any trades and neither did I myself. Now they weren't the lowest probability days, it's just for the model there was nothing that was A+. On Thursday I took a trade for a 1-to-1. So this was a Judas swing off open. I literally, as I said, I risked $150 on this trade and I think I made $184. So it was basically a 1-to-1. And let's jump into it. So this is the trade I took. I was more neutral on the day, but when we look on the higher time frames, I am very, very bullish over these next few weeks. Now, why am I so bullish on the higher time frames? So if we look on the daily, we have inversed this daily fair value gap. We've inversed this one here. We have daily relative equal highs above, and we literally have LRLR on the daily time frame. So I'm actually currently in a long position on a live account. So I'm either going to make 3K or lose 3K if we come to all-time highs. It looks something like this. It's about 1,600 points either way, and I'm going for a 1-to-1 like this. So I'm either going to make or lose 3k, but I'll keep you updated on that. That is just on my live account. We also tapped into 2 monthly fair value gaps and reacted so bullishly out of them. So everything is telling me over the next few weeks we are going to come up to all-time highs. But that doesn't mean that on the day you have to be bullish. There could be a very bearish day, even though the higher time frames are telling you that we're going to be very bullish. So now I was more neutral today because we were just in a 4-hour fair value gap and there just wasn't really much to go off. But as we opened up, we left this 15-minute low inside of that big fair value gap. Off of open, we flew down and swept it and had a really, really clean Judas swing. If you don't know what a Judas swing is, all it is where we come down in one direction off of open and it's sort of a fake out and then we fly in the other direction. So after we swept that 15-minute low in a fair value gap, we saw an A+ 1 minute Judas swing. So I took this trade for a 1-to-1 and it played straight out to take profit. Now, one thing to note with this is a lot of people got break even on this trade because they thought that as this being your break even point, it was swept and then they got break even. But this high was swept on MNQ and you would have got break even. But if you were checking the NQ mini chart, which is what you need to be doing all of your analysis on, not the MNQ chart, that is just for executing, we did not actually sweep the high. So this should have been a win for you. This should not have been a break-even trade, but make sure you are looking at the NQ mini chart. Now, if we look on the 15-minute time frame, we did have a lot of low resistance liquidity up here that you could have targeted with your take profit. And as I said, because I'm just going for an $150 winning day, I was not targeting this. So you could have targeted this and gone for a much better risk to reward and gone for like a 2-to-1, 3-to-1. However, I just went for a 1-to-1 on this day as my focus is literally just stack these winning days. So many of the VIP students and just people in the Discord in general took this trade, which is really, really nice to see. That you all are learning and taking really, really good trades. So this was extremely A+, and this is how we ended off Thursday. It was literally one and done in about 5 minutes into open. So that was our win on Thursday. On Friday, we also took a win, so let's have a look over this. So there's actually 2 trades I want to go over. One fit my model and the other didn't. So this is the first trade I want to go over. I do think this was a good trade. However, it doesn't fit my model, so I didn't take it. If it did, I 100% would have taken this. We had a data low below, which is an A+ drawn liquidity. So if you can target a data low, your win rate is going to be extremely high because it is such a good drawn liquidity. The market is drawn towards it. So we tapped into a 15-minute fair value gap. We filled the whole of it really nicely. And after that, we got a 3-minute IFEG to the downside. I did not take this because we didn't sweep a high inside of a fair value gap. We tapped into some fair value gaps, which is fine. And I know a lot of you guys may have taken this trade, but I need to see a high in a fair value gap sweat. One of the main reasons is that, one, my win rate is just so much higher with highs and lows in fair value gaps, but two, your stop loss is protected. In this scenario, your stop loss is not as protected as it would be if we swept at a high in a fair value gap. So as I said, I don't think this is a bad trade, but it did get stopped out. And now that we came up and stopped this trade out, we swept a high in a fair value gap, which allowed me to get my entry. So I did think that this was going to send us down and it would be a no trade day. But we got a really, really clean 1. And I think it may have even been a 2-minute. No, it was just a 1 minute. So we got a 1 minute IFEG back to the downside here after we swept this high in a fair value gap. So this was a high on quite a few different time frames, but I'll show you if we go on the, let's say 15 minute, we did sweep that 15 minute and we're holding the fair value gap. If we check the 5 minute, we swept the 5 minute really cleanly, tapped into this fair value gap. So now this high is a protected high. When we sweep a high inside of a fair value gap, we make a protected high, and this is a really, really good place for your stop loss. So we also made LRLR on this lower time frame, which is super clean, meaning that this as your break-even point is a really, really good point. Obviously, I would have targeted the data low with my take profit again for a 1.5R. But for me, as I'm just going for $150 winning days, I did just take this for a 1-to-1. When I talked about this with the VIP, I did say that 100% you should be targeting this data low. And the only reason I didn't was because I was going for that $150 winning day. But this is a really good draw on liquidity. You have LRLR below. This is one of the most A+ trades I've seen in a long time. So we come down, we sweep that low, and then we come all the way down for that data low there. So as you can see, a lot of IFEG traders would have been stopped out of this trade because we've got a close back above the IFEG. But am I? No, because we have a protected high. This is such a good place for your stop loss, and so many IFEG traders make the mistake of not having their stop loss at the high. They manually close when it hits here, or they just have too tight a stop loss in general. So make sure you're having it at the protected high. And this was the last trade of the week. So as I said, 2 1-to-1s for me this week. It probably should have been a 2-to-1 and maybe a 1.5R. So we should have been up a little bit more in hindsight if I was risking the full amount and trading as normal. But for the next week or two, I am just meeting the winning days of $150, bringing the balances down, like I said, and then I will be back to normal trading with 500 risk per account. So obviously I didn't do that. And we should be up a bit more, but it is what it is. So that's how we ended the week, boys. Not a very eventful week. We stayed patient this week before, stayed patient for these 3 days. There were 8 days without a trade here. And then we have 2 bangers, which really should have been up probably 3.5 hours. So that is why we stay patient. You will have weeks, you will have months that are just slower, and it is what it is. You just have to be able to stay patient, sit on your hands when it's lower probability, and you will see the winning days. Thank you guys for watching, and there will be another episode uploaded this weekend, so make sure you tune in.